So it's been a day since the OTS championship and I've had time to allow my experience to simmer down. I had a ton of fun yesterday. The event had a large turnout and I got to meet new people and everyone brought out their best game. I'm just going to give you a rundown of what I went up against, but first things first, the deck I decided to play was Blue Eyes Guard Dragons. The deck had some tweaks since my last profile, so if you want to skip ahead this video to see the profile of what I used during the competition, go ahead to this timecode. So yeah, Blue Eyes Guard Dragons. A combo deck. A deck I often complain about in regards to pumping out negates. I will admit I was going to play my Chaos Max deck due to the advantage it had against Nibiru. You see, just about everything I need to do in Chaos Max can be done in 4 summons or less, and seeing that everyone would be using Nibiru, Chaos Max would have made that into a dead card. But at the end of the day, I chose the combo deck. The primary reason I chose it despite never using the current build against another person is because the looming ban list coming up in October. I have a hunch that Guard Dragons are going to take a hit in some shape or another, so I want to play it at least once before that happens. Decks that are super competitive are not really my style, especially since my Glory days, so these days I rarely play them anyway. The second reason was the element of surprise. Everyone knows that I play Chaos Max, and they also know that I am capable of using that card to its maximum potential. So most of my competitors are pretty nervous of that deck. But a casual duelist like me is using a Guard Dragon deck? Yup, that took a lot of people aback. My first opponent, who was someone I dueled with on numerous occasions, he said he was quite surprised by what I was playing and it caused him to pay extra attention. So much so that our match only had 1 game and it went to time. Well, for the most part, the game went quite well. When I rewatched the match through the posted live stream, I can see a lot of things that I could have done differently. Effects that I forgot to activate, and better effects that I could have negated. I even did an embarrassing misplay close to the end of the duel involving the World Chalice Guard Dragon. I remember that he's mostly associated with linked monsters. I forgot that I could have banished him to protect my linked monster from being affected by my opponent, but what really slipped my mind is if I banished him to special summon a normal monster from the grave, it had to be a zone a linked monster points to. I remember doing this correctly on practice draws, but in the heat of the moment, it just escaped me and my opponent missed it too. Thankfully, it only lasted for a turn and it was caught. My initial reaction was to concede the duel because my summon was something that wasn't supposed to happen to begin with. But because of its low impact on the duel, the judge resolved the issue in a fair manner. Time was running low and I did not have much resources left to work with, so the impact of the mistake was low. Even if the summon was done correctly, my life points was the lowest, so I wasn't going to win anyway. This, I will say, is a disadvantage of combo decks, and I understand why not everyone plays them. There are a ton of things you need to keep track of, and it can be the same for your opponent, because the person I face even missed the initial misplay as well. This is why I always say that the judge is your friend. Either if a misplay is major or minor, they know how to resolve the issue, and it doesn't matter how seasoned of a duelist you are or how well you know your deck. Misplays happen and it's not the end of the world, and if anything, you can learn a lot from it. All the other games I played became more easier with the new knowledge I gained from the first duel. And not being live online helped a lot too. My second match had 3 games, but it ended in a draw. Paleozoic Frogs. I won the first game, my opponent took the second, and on the third, there was no damage, and time ran out. Match 3 was against Thunder Dragons. I won the first game and my opponent took the second, and the third I'm pretty sure went to time, but I lost due to the life point count. Match 4 was against Magicians. I won that one in 2 games, and match 5 was against Salamangrates. I won that one in 2 games. So yes, the competition was fierce, and while it was a more formal environment, everyone was still having a great time. And I want to give a huge shout out and congratulations to Dark Bribe Gaming for taking the title. If you want to see his winning deck profile, check out his channel. I have a link in the description below. So let's get to my OTS profile. Okay, so without further ado, here is the deck profile. So for Blue Eyes, I have 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons, 2 Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragons, and 2 Whitestone of Legend. This ratio works really well. You only need 2 Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragons because it does get cloggy, I find, when you use more than 2 of them. 2 Whitestone of Legends. The whole point of this is to, well, get your engine going. You send it to the graveyard to get a Blue Eyes to your hand. You can normal summon Link off, do a Link Karibo, get Blue Eyes to hand. There's just so many uses for this card. It's a tuner, which is also very important. So yes, so for Blue Eyes cards, this is pretty much all you're going to be using. 3 Draco Nets. Yes, I was finally able to get 3 of them. This card is just a 1-card combo. If you're able to normal summon this without any interruptions, you can pretty much fill out your board. It's a 1-card Eve. You normal summon it. You special summon a normal monster from your deck, and the one you want to special summon is your Galaxy Serpent. It's a level 2 turner. So once you have Draco Net out, Galaxy Serpent, sync off into Eve, and the rest just plays itself. 1 White Dragon Wyvern Buster, 1 Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. Like these, even though you only have 1 of each, this combo still works really well. On my first duel, I did make a small mistake. When my White Dragon did go to the grave, I did forget to search this out, but the first duel in a tier 2 event is usually fairly intimidating, so yes, I did forget a few small effects like that, but not that it mattered, because, well, when I did my Sayuja's effect to draw cards, I ended up getting them anyway, so it did save my back. But yes, if you do use this engine, try not to forget, if you special summon this and it leaves a field, you get this one, banish, get them out, and you link off and do whatever you want. 1 Magna Rocket Dragon and 1 Rocket Synchron. These are really good. The reason why I have these here is they're more material to link off into your guard dragons. You can also use these to synchro off into Eve. Magna Rocket Dragon is level 4. Rocket Dragon Synchron is a level 1 tuner. So I've done this actually multiple times with Quick Launch. Like I can normal summon this if it's in my hand. Quick Launch to get this out, sync into Eve, and once again, the rest just plays itself. 1 World Chalice Guard Dragon. Yes, on my first game, as I mentioned, I did do a massive misplay with this. I know I did remember for a fact that he is associated with Link monsters. Like I did know that, hey, if my opponent were to target a monster that was linked, I can just get rid of this card from my hand or my grave and that monster is protected, which in retrospect, I could have done it, but again, I just slipped my head. But the biggest effect that did slip my head with this card is what I did is I banished it and I special summoned a normal monster from grave to my field. It actually has to be to a zone a monster points to. I remember doing this in practice draws, but in the heat of the moment it just slipped my mind. But my opponent, he was familiar with this card and it slipped his mind too. So, but the good thing is it wasn't that huge of a deal. It did not change the outcome of the duel. So, thank goodness for that. But yes, I know that tier 2 events are a little intimidating, but you know, don't be afraid to take time to double check your cards so that way you don't do any big misplays like I did. 1 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, broken card, primarily because he's a soft once per turn, so you can recycle him over and over and over, so yeah. 1 Amorphic Goliath. A lot of my opponents did not expect this card. It's still a lot. The main reason why this card is still effective is your Heretic Spheres. You can use Heretic Spheres to bounce a card back to your opponent's hand and special summon this from your from your deck. So he has a 0 defense anyway, so put him in defense. At least you will lock them out of their extra deck for main phase 1. So odds are what will happen in battle phase, they'll just kill this thing and go into main phase 2. But main phase 1 is the crucial part anyway, so you don't want them to use all their big, strong, extra deck monsters to beat you to a pulp. So that's pretty much why I have him in this deck. one Chaos Dragon Levineer. He's basically a free special summon, but depending on what you banish depends on the effect. And the effect I try to use the most is to banish 3 light monsters so you can revive a light monster from your grave in defense mode, and you can just continue on with your plays. Great extender. He's a level 8, so say the Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, you can just, once you use his effect, he can't attack, so you may as well overlay and go and do Hope Harbinger. So yes, I've done that a few times, and people get pretty terrified when this hits the field. And Tempest, Dragon Ruler of the Storm. Holy moly, did I use this card a lot, and why not? It is so easy to abuse. Once you have your board built, your grave is going to be packed with dragons. And all you have to do is, if he's in your hand or sent to the grave, which is very easy to do with Dragon Shrine of Foolish Burial, is just banish any 2 dragon monsters, bam, he's special summoned, and you can either use him as extender or use him as a beat stick. Now in the end phase, he does return to your hand, which helps make this guy so busted, because again, your grave is full of dragons. Keep banishing 2 dragons, bring them out, attack, back to your hand, banish, take them out. Is just crazy. Insane. So yes, I use this guy a lot during the competition. Okay, for Magic, we have 3 World Legacy Guard Dragon. As I always say, this card is the bread and butter of your deck. The deck just won't work without this. That's the whole point. You have Eve. Eve allows you to search this card out. Once it's activated, it allows you to special summon a dragon, level 4 dragon or lower from your grave to your field. So use that for extender. And once per turn, it allows you to move a monster from the main zone to a different main zone. So for guard dragons, that is pretty important because you need 2 guard dragons, 2 arrows to point at a zone to abuse the effects of the guard dragons. 3 trade in for your draw power. Very easy to use, very critical. A lot of people have tried to ash this because they know what it does, and as long as you have protection, you can protect it. 3 Melody of the Awakening Dragon. Staple in any Blue Eyes deck, and it can also search out the Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon and the Chaos Dragon Levineer. So yes, not only does trade-in get ashed a lot, but this card does too. But again, as long as you got called by the grave, you can protect it. This is the one I would protect the most. I mean, if trade-in gets ashed, it's not that big a deal, but this is the one you really, really want to go through. 3 Call by the Grave for protection. I've always been skeptical of this card because with my luck, I never ever have it in my hand when my opponent uses a hand trap. But lo and behold, during this competition, I had this card in my hand all the time. So I guess luck was on my side for some reason. So I've been ashed plenty of times, and this card saved me. So for any combo deck, you really don't even side this. You must have a Call by the Grave in your deck because it just, it's a lifesaver. 3 quick launches. This is for the 2 rocket monsters. That's why you only need 1 of each of the rocket monsters, because with quick launch, you can just activate it, search it, and special summon it. And while it does have to be destroyed by the end of the turn, it doesn't matter. You're going to be linking it off anyway. And the great thing with quick launch is it's not once per turn. So if you have 2 of these in your hand, you can use 2 of them in the same turn. And I've done that. I've actually drew 2 quick launches. So I used them both to get both of the rocket monsters, Synchro to Eve, and just kept on going. For revival, I got 2 Return the Dragon Lords, 1 Monster Reborn. That's a staple, especially depending on what your opponent has. You can just steal one of their monsters from the grave. Return the Dragon Lords is really good because I can revive a Blue Eyes from my grave. You can use to revive the Blue Eyes Alt and the Chaos Dragon if they've been summoned successfully. If they were just ditched to the grave, you can't unfortunately use that. The added bonus is if you discard it using as cost for your Melody Awakening Dragon, it's in the grave. So if your opponent were to try to destroy your monster by battle or card effect, well, there you go, just banish it and all of your dragons will be protected. So that's very important. 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Dragon Shrine. I remember earlier builds I had 2 Dragon Shrines, but I narrowed it down to 1. I didn't want to get too cloggy. It is very important to get some dragons from your deck to the grave. The egg is an important one. I often use it to put the Tempest to the grave because once the Tempest is in the grave, you can just keep banishing to abuse his power. But I found this ratio to be quite good, quite good. 1 for 1. Very, very standard on a deck like this. Just get rid of any old monster you want. If Tempest is in your hand, you can use that for the cost because it doesn't matter if it's in your hand or in the grave. And it's supposed to summon a level 1. And of course we get the eggs and the rocket synchron, the tuner. So that's all the general idea. If you have anything on your side of the field you can synchro into, well, this is the card you need. 1 Dragon's Ravine. I know some people play more than 1, but I'm only comfortable using 1 simply because it is searchable. The benefit of 2 is once you have it activated and say you need to send another card from your hand and get another one to the grave, you can reactivate it. So this is already in the field, you got one in your hand, you can remove it and add the other one to get the effect again. So I understand why people will do that, but simply because it's searchable, I only need it once, technically. That's all I really need. So that's why 1 was perfect for me. Okay, for the extra deck, I use 1 Link Karibo, very standard, real good toolbox monster. Primarily I use him to normal summon my egg, link off into Link Karibo, get the effective egg, and you have a pointing down arrow. So if you get a level 4 or lower dragon monster, that's when you can link away and use your guard dragon, War Legacy guard dragon, and just keep moving the spaces. Metamorphosis, I never pronounce him right, but the reason why he's so important is he's a generic Link 2 with 2 arrows, but he requires any 2 monsters, which is great because Link Karibo is not a dragon, Eve is not a dragon either. So if you need to get rid of those cards, well, you can use them to link off into Link Morphicus, and you'll get Eve's effect from the graveyard to get a World Chalice monster. You have your Guard Dragon package, so Argapane, Elpie, and Pitsy. What can I say? These guys are extremely broken. I still think they need to take a hit. My initial reaction is LP, but I understand why Argapane should take a hit, because that's a free special summon from your deck, free special summon from your extra deck monster. It's all broken in my opinion, but you know, everyone has their own take on these 3, but it's just me. But I really do think you need to take a hit. Save the Skull Dread. 1 works out fine. It was pretty tight. I would have 2 in there, but another card in this extra deck is just too good to ignore. Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres, wonderful. It's a free bounce for any card on your opponent's side of the field, so it doesn't have to be a monster. And as long as it's an extra monster zone, if you tribute him for the bounce, you can special summon from your deck, and I always get the Amorphage Goliath. Drangudi Knight Romulus. This is the reason why I only use 1 Dragon Ravine, because once he comes out, he's searchable. I mean, sorry, the card itself is searchable. And these 2 require 2 dragons to link off, and they open up 2 arrows, very important. So these are very easy to do, but again, that's why Metamorphosis is so important, because sometimes there's other monsters that are not dragons. Boral Sword Dragon. I used him more than I thought I would. He was basically my trump card against Salamangreats. He's the reason why I was able to beat them so well during the competition. So once they had a lot of things in my deck gone, bam, I linked out the Boral Sword Dragon, and there was nothing they could really do. So yes, he's the reason why I don't have 2 Save the Skull Dreads in my extra deck. So it's just too good of a card. Synchros, 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, the long-winded dragon. He's the target I always use for my Guard Dragon Argapane. He is a free negate. I use Borlo Savage Dragon. If you get your Tempest out and get a tuner, any old tuner, you can synchro off into him. And if you already linked off your Sage of Skull Dread, that's the target I always use to equip him with. So it will power him up to 4,400 attack, and you'll get 4 negates. So yeah, that's something you don't want to mess with. Azure Eyes Silver Dragon and Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. I didn't really use these at all, when I come to think about it, but they're still very good options. If you special summon the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, especially in defense, he's a free negate from your opponent's graveyard, which is really good depending on the situation. And depending on what your opponent gets out, that could be a threat to your dragons. On either turn, you can tag him out and get out Azure Eyes, so none of your dragons can be destroyed, which is wonderful, and his own effect protects himself, so you don't have to worry about the destruction effect that Blue-Eyed Spirit Dragon has, because at the end of the turn, whatever you tagged out has to be destroyed, but he doesn't matter. And Eve the World Chalice. Oh my god, did I use this card a lot. With this build, she's very easy to get out. Once she's special summoned, she allows you to search for your Warlock Guard Dragon, and once she leaves the field, which is what I do, I link her off, you basically get to search your World Chalice Guard Dragon. And I always special summon it, so you can just continue on with your plays. And last but not least, one Hope Harbinger staple. If you play a deck that has a lot of level 8s, yes, he's one of the best cards you can have. I have used him a couple of times. Again, like you can revive a Blue Eyes, you can get out a Blue Eyes Alternate White Dragon, special summon your Chaos Dragon Lavineer, uses effect, and that's what I do. I'll then overlay them to get Hope Harbinger. So it is only once per turn for his negation, so like you have to be careful. So your opponent can use a magic card. You can say I negate, absorb as material. But another great thing about this card is if your opponent has a weaker monster that wants to attack your, I don't know, your Morphic Goliath defense mode, for example, detach a material, and the attack must be redirected to your Hope, and the attack cannot be redeclared. So their monster is going to take a hit for that. So yes, very, very good. For my side deck, I had a lot of pretty standard stuff. I used 3 Ash Blossoms and Joy Spring. I did swap out between this fairly often. Same thing with Nibiru, the Primal Being. I didn't get a chance to actually use it. I did have it in my opening hand. My opponent was going first, and they were summoning, but they got to the 4th summon. Not quite the 5th, so I was like, dang, didn't get to throw a rock today. Dark Ruler no more. This didn't come up at all. I did side it in, but I didn't come to needing to use it. 3 Twin Twisters, I did succeed in using this one when I sided it in. I had an opponent that used Mystic Mine on me. Yes, I actually did high five my opponent for that. I'm like, awesome, that is great. The only thing is my opponent had a monster on their field and I had nothing, so the trick is if your opponent does that, just don't play any monsters, because they won't be able to use their effects. Last but not least, 3 Infinite Impertinence. I didn't use this one at all. I didn't really come into a situation where I wanted to side it in, but it's a staple. I recommend that you use it if you can get your hands on it. And that, my dragons, is the profile for my Blue-Eyed Guard Dragon deck that I used for the OTS Championship. Not many people were expecting it because combo decks, they're not really my thing, and as far as the competitive level is concerned, I don't really play overly competitive decks. I like all the niche stuff, all the gimmicky stuff. So yes, when people saw what I was playing, they're like, oh, she means business. The only unfortunate thing is, again, I didn't really have a lot of practice with this deck. I would do practice hands. I play on Wygo Pro on occasion, but this is my first time using this deck against an actual person. And as always, the first match in a competition like this is the most nerve-wracking, but after the first game, everything else just fell into place. I was gelling with it a lot more. Did much better than I thought I would. You know, had I won the match where it ended up in a draw, I had a chance to get the top cuts. So that's actually pretty cool. I did more than I thought I would. So, but anyway, what do you think? Do you think Guard Dragons will actually take a hit? Do you think they should? Because they're still making an impact out there. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and remember to be a good sport, play the game, not the fame. See ya!
Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe and be sure to click on the bell for notifications. You can also check me out on Facebook. The link is in the description below. Happy dueling!